Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad, the podcast about Airbnb hosting. Today I am here with Josefa. Josefa, how's it going?
Good. What's up, guys?
And we have a guest from Holland today, so it's going to be a bit of a Dutch episode. His name is Nanne Veenstra, and he runs a short stay management company. Nanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, and greetings from Amsterdam.
It's a very sunny day in Amsterdam. I'm in Amsterdam myself, so we're very lucky because we don't get very good weather very often.
Indeed.
I'm still in Los Angeles, and it may be a sunny day. I don't know. It's a bit early. It's still completely dark outside. So we're dealing with the time difference.
In Los Angeles, you have about a 90% chance that the day is going to be sunny, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
It's true.
So, Nanne, let's start the interview, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Sure. My name is Nanne. I'm 33 years old, and I live between Amsterdam and The Hague. I live in both cities at the moment. I used to have a job in banking, but I quit last month, so I'm on my own now, together with a friend of mine, and we started a management company based on the success of Airbnb and similar websites.
That's great. Well, first of all, congratulations with quitting your job.
Thanks.
It's good to get out of the rat race.
I'm following your example.
And Josefa has also left his corporate job a while ago, so I guess we're all free spirits now.
Yeah.
So you started a short-term rental management company. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's the way I'd say it. Indeed. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, what do you do exactly, and how does it relate to Airbnb?
Well, I started off doing Airbnb myself from my own apartment back in 2010, and it was fun for a while, but I quickly experienced that it was quite a hassle to arrange everything. You had to stay in touch with the guests, you had to deliver your apartment clean and tidy, and you had to be there for the check-in. So after hosting several guests, I thought, well, maybe I should just quit. I mean, on the one hand, the money was good, but on the other hand, I couldn't always be there to let the guests in and to deliver the apartment clean. And that's when I had a discussion with one of my friends, Nick, and he said, well, if you're experiencing the hassle, then other people have the same experiences. So why don't you try to help them get rid of all the hassle, and we do it for them. So we started out helping a friend and a neighbor and then a friend of a friend. And over the course of, 2-3 years, we gained a lot of customers up till a level that we are serving 60 customers at the moment. And that's why we recently quit our jobs to focus on our new company called KeyBnB.
KeyBnB, that's awesome. You basically identified a problem, and that's kind of actually interesting that it was almost what turned you off to hosting is what eventually sparked the idea for the company. So what types of things do you guys manage for hosts?
Well, we relieve homeowners when it comes to renting out their home, and our core service is taking over the full process so they can earn money without having to do anything. So we list our company's property online on several booking websites. We accept booking requests. We communicate with the guests that are coming to the apartment. and we do the operations on site. So we clean the apartment, prepare for the guest's arrival, do the check-in, do the check-out, and we are there 24/7 in case guests have questions or run into some problems like the Wi-Fi connection is going bad, etc.
Well, so it sounds like you guys essentially do all of the legwork. So basically all somebody has to do is say, here's my apartment, you guys run with it.
Indeed. Here's my apartment, here are the keys, this is my availability in the next month or so, and we are running it from A to Z.
Okay, and what kind of, how does the payment work for people who want to use your guys' services?
Well, we work on a no cure, no pay basis. So in case we don't generate rental income, which is never the case actually because Airbnb runs so good, but in case we don't earn anything, they don't have to pay anything. And in case we do earn rental income, we ask for a percentage of it, which is in general 25%, including VAT. But in case they have really nice homes with really high income, we can do it for a little less.
And how does the payment work? Does Airbnb pay you guys, or does Airbnb pay the owner of the apartment and he pays you?
Yeah, well, there's no one way to do it, but we prefer to gain the income ourselves, to get the payment, and we pay the owners within 24 hours after accepting, after receiving the money. And that's because one of our first customers was also one of our first customers that didn't pay us. So,
I was going to say, I understand why you prefer it that way.
We don't want to have the debtor risk anymore. So we're honest and reliable people, and we work with an agreement that has to be signed on both ends. And we earn the rental income, and we pay them within 48 hours after receiving it. And it works. And we also do the financial reports, so they get an overview of everything that has been earned and everything that is going to be earned by them and by us.
Okay, so it's really all the host needs to do is give you the key, tell us when the apartment's available, and that's all. He doesn't even need to worry about the payments or anything like that.
Indeed, indeed. But before we start, we always make an appointment to talk things through, so he can or she can have a look at us, and vice versa. So we can build a relationship on trust, and in case they don't want to do anything with us, that's fine too. And if they're not really sure whether they would trust us with their keys, we can also offer separate services at first, just to get acquainted and take it from there. So we can do only a check-in or just a cleaning service, just to get acquainted with each other.
And now, for the check-in service, for example, is it you and your partner that handle that, or do you guys have people in various locations that are sort of on call to manage that part, or how does that work?
Yeah, actually, both Nick and I do everything online, and we try to be there for the check-ins. And we are the first point of contact for the homeowners, but also for our guests. And in addition, we have our team of 3 ladies that prepare the apartment and also can do check-ins and be there in case of questions or emergencies or whatsoever. So we work with very skilled people who know how to treat guests and how to prepare an apartment.
I see. Now, you're based in Amsterdam, so I imagine that's where kind of the business began and where it operates. But do you guys currently work in any other cities?
Yes, we started working in The Hague last summer because I'm living there at the moment. We are building up in Rotterdam with 1 apartment, but you have to start somewhere, of course. And for one homeowner who's already a customer of ours in Amsterdam, we rented out his holiday home in France, where we did everything online. And he has a person over there in France who checks the people in.
So one thing that comes to mind when I imagine using your service, I get a lot of positive feedback from my guests because I provide them with a lot of local recommendations. I know all the best places in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the reasons why people like Airbnb is sort of the contact with a local person. How do you guys, as a company, how do you guys try to sort of create that same experience? Because even though you're a company, you're not like the owner of the apartment.
That's a very good question. We thought about it as well, and sometimes we get the feedback that, they would like to see the owner in person, or they would like to have the feeling that the owner is involved.
Mm-hmm.
So the things we do is that we ask the owners to prepare a guest book, which they leave in the apartment with a welcome message, just to say that actually the owners are the ones that are hosting the people, not us. We are nothing more than a service provider. And in addition, we ask the owners to prepare a list of recommendations so that the guests always have the feeling that they will be provided with the information from the area in which they reside, with the best restaurants and the best hotspots in their surrounding.
And do you send this guidebook to your guests before they arrive by email?
By email, always, indeed. And there's also a hard copy in the apartment itself.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good idea. I do the same thing, and you get a lot of positive feedback. I think it's really important to send the guidebook to the guests before they arrive, because it seems like half of the fun of going on a trip is sort of to look forward to it. So it's nice to get all these local recommendations, and people will start checking out all the restaurants online and checking out the recommendations, and that makes the whole experience really nice.
Indeed. And I share that opinion. They can also do some homework and see how they should go from A to B. And I think that's a good thing.
So one of our recent guests that we had on the show talked a little bit about some of the challenges that Airbnb is encountering legally, both in the U.S. and other countries. What types of legal challenges have you faced in the different places that you guys operate? Or have you dealt with any?
Well, luckily enough, not in our own company, but of course we hear the stories of especially the Amsterdam City Council trying to regulate Airbnb and everything that goes around it. And luckily, in January of this year, they presented some new guidelines which gives a lot of information to homeowners about what they can and what they cannot do. And, we have adopted those regulations and try to be as compliant as possible, of course, so as not to do things that are not allowed.
I see. And what about has there been anything that you mentioned before, something in France? I mean, what about in other regions or other areas?
In the Netherlands, as far as I know, only Amsterdam City Council drafted some guidelines. And that's because Amsterdam is just the city to be in the Netherlands. It attracts so many tourists, I believe between 6 and 8 million per year. And there are no other cities in the Netherlands that attract such numbers. And as a result, the city councils don't see Airbnb as a threat or adjust their regulations to it. And for countries like France, I don't know. I have no clue.
I see. Do you have any plans to eventually even come and bring the services to North America or South America or elsewhere? Or are you sort of focusing on Europe right now as your primary market?
Yeah, the funny thing is that what we do, we invented it, the idea, when sitting on a terrace. But when you go online and you try to look if it already exists, you find that in London, in New York, in Paris, in every big city, companies like us exist. So it's not really our plan or our strategy to really conquer the world, so to say. We want to be best in what we do in Amsterdam and potentially in The Hague and Rotterdam too. But what we can do is offer our services, our virtual services throughout the world. I mean, as long as a homeowner has somebody who can open up the door and somebody who can clean the apartment, we can do the bookings and we can make sure that a person is there to greet the guests in person.
Right, and I think if you use an electronic lock, then all you need to do if you're not around is really get somebody to clean the apartment.
Yeah.
So if let's say somebody is in Australia, just to name a country, and that person has an electronic lock, and that person hires you guys to manage a listing, then you guys, I guess, could even get in touch with a cleaning lady in Australia and sort of communicate with her, and that way you can even manage a listing on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, totally true. On the other hand, an electronic lock has some pros, but it also has some cons. And in our view, we always want to be there when guests check in. And that's because over the past year, we've handled some 1,000 bookings.
Right.
And sometimes we received questions like, how do I flush the toilet? It's the weirdest question we got, but we got it. Or how do I use the stove? Or how do I open the window?
Right.
So we always want to be there when guests arrive, just to show them how the apartment works, etc. So an electronic lock is good, but on the other hand, you might want to be there just to give some explanations. Right.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely preferred to welcome the guest, or if you can't welcome the guest, have somebody else do it. But I think the electronic lock can be a solution. But you mentioned an interesting point, because I am back in Amsterdam right now, and one of the things that I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm going to create a video. And in the video, I'm literally going to walk from the tram stop to my house. And then I'm going to show in the video where my house is. I'm going to show them the door. I'm basically just going to film it as I walk in, and I'm going to film everything you can possibly do in my apartment. And that way I can just send my guests a link and they can just watch this video, and then they know it. Then they know everything.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah. You should adopt it too.
Yeah. Cause you know what, even though my directions are pretty accurate, I still get a lot of guests who have trouble finding it. Finding the apartment. So I figured this video would be really helpful in that regard.
Yeah, and then you place it on YouTube or some other website. Yeah.
I can either place it on YouTube, but also I can put it on Dropbox, and that way it's a little bit more private. And I'll just put a link in the guidebook that I send out.
Perfect idea. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just charge you $500 for this.
And that's actually really cool too. We also recommend using the video feature as well for any host, just as a means of connecting with potential guests. And this is another way. I mean, this will be a very useful video that Jasper's creating, but in addition, it's another way for guests to be able to connect with him and learn about who he is, because that's also a big part of the Airbnb process, as you well know.
Yeah,
and specifically for your company, Nanne, it might be good, because if people do want to have that communication with the host, so if they get a video where they see the host, then that will really add to the experience, I guess.
Yeah, brilliant idea. Take note of it, and I'll keep you posted on our process.
Okay, great. One other thing I'm curious about, because I know you guys are using Airbnb, but you're using some other sites as well. How does Airbnb compare to other listing websites?
Good question. And we've written some blog posts about it, because what we see is that Airbnb has a very, very good website, which attracts a lot of people, but it doesn't cover the whole world. For example, we use holiday lettings as well, which, in our opinion, is used by families, especially from the UK, but sometimes also from Italy and France. And they are willing to pay a premium to for apartments which don't attract that much of money on Airbnb. So we use it just to boost rental income, but also to have the good profile guests, people that are somewhat older, have a little bit more money to spend, and that want to go on holidays with their families.
Okay, so it's a different demographic, that different type of traffic that you get from this website.
Indeed, and on Airbnb, I think that a lot of people want to get the best deal out of it. So there's a lot of interaction about, hey, can you give me a discount, etc. And on holiday lettings, we don't have that same experience. Okay,
that's interesting.
So now you've been running this business, working with, I think you said somewhere in the neighborhood, you have 60 clients now. You must have a great expertise in hosting, and you must really know now what are the key elements to being a good host. So for the benefit of our listeners, our readers, what are your major tips for hosts? How do you become a super host? How do you maximize your profits?
I would say number one is response fast to their questions and answer very accurately. What we always try to do is manage people's expectations. So when you know that your stairs are steep and it takes a while to walk to the supermarket, all that kind of experiences, be open about it. Because there's no, if you confront your guests with bad experiences, then they will write down such a thing in a review, and you cannot use that. So always be open and be honest. That's number one.
All right, great. And do you have any other tips on other than, okay, so you respond, you be accurate. What other advice do you have?
Well, I would always try to make their experience better than what they thought they would get. So what we do is make sure that there are some basics in the apartment, like something to drink, a bottle of wine, some Diet Coke, some snacks for the first evening, and some shampoo, some soap. Those basic stuff. It doesn't cost much, but it'll make sure that they'll have a good start, and they remember that. So when anything happens, the Wi-Fi connection doesn't work or some other stuff, they are able to forgive you because of that very good first impression.
That's a really good point. And I see this all the time, because sometimes something goes wrong and you can't really do much about it. But if you show that you're going the extra mile to make sure your guest has a great experience, then guests are very forgiving. And most of the times, if something does goes wrong, they won't mention it in the review if they know that you're doing your best.
Indeed, indeed.
So Nanne's company is in Amsterdam. Now, I know that in a lot of big cities, for the listeners out there who are located in maybe New York or San Francisco or Paris or any other big city, if you Google short stay management company and then the name of your city, there's a good chance that you'll actually find some, because I believe they're popping up all over the place right now. Do you have that feeling as well, Nanne?
Yes, I know that there are some very huge and good operating companies in the US, especially San Francisco, of course, where Airbnb comes from, but also California and New York.
Okay, awesome. Nanne, thank you so much for being a guest today. This was really interesting, and it's a great way to see too how you can use something like Airbnb and think of, hey, what's missing in the marketplace? How can I innovate and make something that everybody can use? And it sounds like you've built a really excellent service that a lot of people are taking use of. So if people want to get in touch with you or reach out to you and use your guys' services, how can they do that? Where can they find you?
They can find us on www.key-bnb.com. It's currently only in Dutch, but we are working on translating it into English, and it won't take longer than a few weeks or so.
Okay, perfect. So guys, if you didn't write that down, don't worry. All that information will be in the show notes. You can find the show notes at www.getpaidforyourpad.com/podcast. And if you guys want to check out our book and get more information on how to be an awesome host yourself, you can get the first 3 chapters for free at getpaidforyourpad.com. You can also find our book at Amazon if you search for Get Paid for Your Pad on Amazon Kindle. Jasper, I think Jasper wanted to make a couple announcements real quick before we end the show.
Yeah, I have one announcement. Next week on Tuesday, September 16th at 8 a.m. Pacific time, I will be hosting a webinar. So you guys can tune in live. I'm going to be discussing the 5 most common mistakes that Airbnb hosts make. And if you avoid these mistakes, you can significantly increase your income. So I recommend you tune in. It's live. You can ask questions. We can chit-chat about Airbnb in general. And it's going to be really fun. So Tuesday, September 16th, 8 a.m. PST. We'll see you there.
Sounds awesome. All right, guys, definitely check that out. For more episodes of Get Paid for Your Pad, tune in every Monday and Thursday. That's when new episodes come out. And that is it. We will catch you guys next time. Take it easy.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.